13:40 a.m. People Station. Yes, Patrick is on the other line now, the scientist himself. And we're actually going to look at a few things here tonight. And knowing that the many things that we actually are accustomed to today, how important are they? Are they detrimental to, especially to our health? And how beneficial are they to our day-to-day well-being? And also, how much are in control of when it comes to these forms of technology? Is the technology today is creating future wars? Because to really have the cutting edge technology today actually gives the kind of advancement in some countries, some nations. So, how important is technology? On the line, we have Patrick Ruddy, which is no stranger now because the last time we were able to get him in so that he can actually reason to us pertaining to weather modification. So we are going to actually take it to another notch, wherein as I am sure that everybody has a cell phone, everybody has some form of technology that they are dabbling with in some form, some way. And from the youngest to the oldest, have them. Are these things changing our lives today? These are the many questions that I ask. Do they have an effect on our day-to-day living, on our day-to-day? So we're going to look into some of this. So Patrick, you there?
I am here. And again, thank you for having me back on.
So, yes, I was saying that they are demanding that you return.
Well, I'm glad to be back. It's a good thing.
All right. Well, we're looking at technology and how effective technologies are to us. What are some of the things? Them I just read an article pertaining to FCC, and they're actually looking at decreasing internet services and a couple of things now to low-income families, low-income homes, and low-income areas. And you know, who is actually in control when it comes to these technologies that we are seeing, and technologies from all different areas. You know, all the many different gadgets now that actually holds the championships of technology. We are seeing here in the Caribbean how technology actually is really strangling some of our people. The things that they have to do, they have a system here known as top-ups. The amount of money that actually went into your top-up systems, and it goes on and on. Technology, Patrick, this is what we are looking at. How effective is these technologies today?
Well, they are becoming pervasive. I mean, it's almost it not only does everyone have a mobile phone, it's becoming essential to have a mobile phone. Um, they're all interconnected. I see not too far down the line that payments, money will all be done through your phone. And Apple just came out with their, the new iPhone with facial recognition, and they have a watch, and I see the watch being the next thing that will have facial recognition on it, and that is actually also very creepy. Um, you know, it used to be if you had some money, you could buy a chicken. Um, Now it's almost everything is going digital, and the main cause for concern with that is you if the power of being able to make the transaction is given over to an authority who then decides, oh, I don't like what you're saying or thinking, they can just shut off your ability to buy and sell and feed yourself or travel. It's creepy. But even though in this conversation we will be talking about some dark things, that you shared this video, which I actually had seen about, there's little drones. I mean, this actually is feasible. You have facial recognition. If you combine facial recognition and drones, and have them be autonomous, you could actually have lethal autonomous drones that will go around and kill people based on facial recognition or other biometrics. These are dark and it seems terrifying, but as I keep saying, this is just the current level of technological advancement. Every time there is a technological advancement, pretty much the first thing it's used for is, for military to oppress people, and then it gets, more. Then everyone gets to use it, and it becomes more. It's it's not an insurmountable threat. I mean, it's still bad. We should be smart about this, and I think the way the technology companies are becoming more intrusive, and they're not so much serving us; they're serving themselves. And we have, I mean, with laptops now, phones and laptops, they have a limited amount of storage. It's harder to get phones now where you can actually put your own memory card in there. So your own data is kept somewhere else on their computers. We should be keeping our own data ourselves, or at least have access to it, because like the service could go away. Like there's an example. Here's an example. There's an ebook reader called, excuse me, called the Kindle, which is made by Amazon, and you can read books on it. They can remotely delete books from your device or change them if they feel like it without your power. That's not okay. And in fact, a few years ago, they actually remotely deleted everybody's copy of 1984, which the irony was not lost. But what I've seen recently, I'm a techie guy. I mean, I've been tinkering around with computers since the 70s. And I used to fix Macintoshes for a living, and I'm finding that, I mean, the phone part has always been a little opaque and difficult to get things in and out of, but they seem to be designing it to me more difficult, making us jump through more hoops to do the things that we used to be able to do much more easily. Like, I have an old iPod. Back in the day, you could just drag songs into iTunes and they just showed up on your iPod. You'd transfer them back and forth. It was fine. You can't do that anymore. They also removed people's ability to save files that they created on different apps on the phone within iTunes. They just turned that off. And in a recent update of Mac OS, they say, "Oh yeah, since you have so little storage on your hard drive or your little flash memory thing, which is you can't even get at because it's sealed inside the box. We can save space for you by sharing stuff on our servers." No thanks, no thanks. I'd like people to. I mean, when I'm eating food, I mean, if I buy it from a store, I need to know what all the ingredients are. Is there any poison in there? Is there something that's bad or whatever? I think we should take the same attitude with computers. We should. I mean, I'm not expecting everyone to be a computer scientist and be able to program their own thing from the ground up, but we should be able to understand enough to know what different bits do, and what is happening to your data. Is it being shared? Like, if you go to a regular computer and you just start typing in a search box, it autofills because it'll start. Just your keystrokes are being sent out, and the computer's sending, "Oh, do you mean this? Do you mean this? Do you mean this?" That's the stuff you can see. I have there's a program I use on my Mac called Little Snitch, and it reports on any incoming requests or outgoing data. And I did a fresh install, and for the first 10 minutes, it was like I kept like, oh, I want to send data here to Facebook, to Google, to all these companies I'd never heard of, and I wasn't asking those companies, oh, by the way, like if I wanted to know a flight time, I'd go to United or whatever and look up flight times. I don't want the computer looking up flight times before I ask for it. It's it's not convenient, and we need to get better control of our data, and I think it would be even good to demand from anyone who's getting our data, who's getting it and who they're sharing it with and for what purpose. And ultimately, I think getting ourselves off the social networks, stop using things like Amazon and Google, use technology is going a bit too far. I know I sound like a Luddite, but we used to be able to do things quite fine ourselves. We used to be able to drive around. Like you go somewhere, a new place, you had a map. You could figure it out. Now, even when you're driving around somewhere that's familiar to you, we have become our own mapping systems, our own mapping abilities is being taken away, just like our ability for arithmetic's being taken away. It's the same thing with location, and it's just creepy and wrong. But we can also use these tools against the tools that are used against us. We can, with bad intent, if we can use them with good intent for good. So, but yeah, there's all kinds of disturbing stuff. I mean, we mentioned the drones, but nanotechnology is a big one as well, which needs to be talked about. Nanotechnology is making things that are very, very small. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. And I saw a paper this week. We mentioned the nanofibers in the last talk we had, and these nanofibers, they are small enough that they can wrap themselves within the DNA and RNA in our genetic code, and can transfer signals back and forth. They're trying to, and perhaps already have succeeded in hacking our own DNA expression. And if you can do that, it's epigenetics is how genes are expressed, because within us we have all the genetics for all kinds of different like disorders and things. And they only get activated when the diseases only happen once those genes are expressed in that way, and that's a terrifying bioweapon, and you can't even see it. And there was a study I think I mentioned last time in early last year, or it might have been this year, in Paris. They found when they looked at lung tissue from people who died, everyone, all of their subjects that they tested had these little fibers in them. These are nanofibers that are being manufactured and sprayed and cut. We're all getting exposed to this stuff, and it is disturbing. It is disturbing. But we're under attack from so many ways. You have in the food and the air and the water, the electromagnetic stuff, the sociologically, and with that all these new tech things. And here's another thing which oh, you had a question? Oh, sorry.
I just wondered to myself, what is really the purpose of actually doing this to the people on the planet? Is there an agenda that they're actually trying to get out of all of this?
Well, the agenda for pretty much everything they do is for greater control. They want us to
Okay.
um, agree with everything that they do, uh, have us see them as our superiors, our authority, and to believe that we are dependent on them for us to do our everyday things. That's why you have all these permits and the whole money system, all that stuff is designed for control. And the ultimate control is the power of life and death. And, there's that gets into eugenics. These are very dark people. And the reason they're being dark is because people like us have just seeing who they are and what they're up to, and they we're on the side of truth, they're on the side of lies and deception, and but them just doing this means they become more visible, which is truthful, and it breaks their they ultimately fail. And I know I'm getting back into spirituality here, but it's true. And they are doing this because they're a little freaked out. So we just do the right thing. And for me personally, what that involves doing is I'm gonna stop using all cloud services. I'm just gonna stop. And it's like, yeah, I mean, why am I paying to, like, you get to look at my stuff? Like, why? I mean, I'll still use YouTube and certain things, but I mean, I won't be using Apple Music. I won't be using Dropbox. I'll use my own data on things that I can control. And ultimately, I'll be getting off Facebook, but not quite yet, because I still think I can do some good on there. So, um, yeah, there's a lot.
What is wrong with Google? What is Google? I seen Google itself now because there are some information that has been floating around pertaining to Google and how Google is actually harnessing your information. They are tapping into your information in itself. Tell us about this Google.
Well, Google was funded with, I mean, it got its seed funding from a venture capital company called InQtel, which is basically the CIA deep state. That's the way they finance things. Facebook got their start with InQtel money. Google uses, I mean, Google Maps. That's military technology that was handed to them, and they call themselves Alphabet. Because the parent company of Google is Alphabet, and the Alphabet agencies are, the intelligence agencies. They're quite open about this. It's a joke. They used to have a slogan, which was, the company motto was "Don't be evil," and then they said, actually, that's not going to be our slogan anymore, and they stopped using it because they were being evil. Knowledge is power, and can you trust these people with that power? I mean, it's convenient, but really, is that such a great idea to let them know everything that we
Yeah.
do?
But this is what is happening, Patrick. You have people who really doesn't really understand or have enough wiseness to know, well, you can't actually carry them into your bedroom and bathroom and all of that kind of thing, because this is what is happening on some of the social medias. And then all of some of the information, the stories that are there, it just take it to another level. And this is what has been happening with the social media.
It's out. People are very dependent. In fact, I mean, I'm guilty of that myself because when I go to the bathroom, I always bring my phone. And last weekend, I didn't have my phone with me, and I went to the bathroom without it. It's like, oh, and I was almost surprised that the natural bodily function was able to happen without a phone in my hand. Because I'd become, it sounds joking, but there was like, oh wow, I can do this.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
was
I
that.
understand, man. I understand.
I'm sure everyone's had
Uh,
that thought. It's quite.
yeah, I understand. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Um, we need to be able to wean ourselves off these, or at least, and actually, what I'd recommend people do once in a while is, unless there's something you really need to know, like, oh, okay, what time does the train leave tomorrow, or those sort of things. There's some firm plan that you really absolutely need to go on the net. Um, start taking breaks, and you can even go as far, not just turning your phone off, but just leaving it at home, and then just going out, and then just go down to the beach, meet some friends without your phone. Start learning to be a human again, because the way we're becoming so dependent on these, they really, I believe, and they said they would really like to have a neural interface with this technology and make us, frankly, like androids, have incorporate technology into our bodies. I mean, the we had a few years ago, there was the Google Glass thing. It effectively gave you a heads up display, and as you looked around, it would identify. It was overlaid on reality that you would see these different things. The new the new iPhone that came out. One of the selling points for that is for augmented reality. You know, there's that game Pokemon Go. You hold your phone up and you can see little Pokemons running around, overlaid on. And this is something, it looks right now to be this sort of little game thing. But you can see it. And if you had a heads-up display in your car that had a red line showing where you were supposed to go, and it would seem very convenient. But with it, in what you'll have in military technology, they've had heads-up displays for a long time. You know, pilots have them. I think they even have them for infantry. You would be able to look around, and with the facial recognition or whatever, it could have. It's like, actually, if you just take a picture with your phone, you will see little squares moving around of what things are in focus, and then you can add that, so it would be able to recognize those faces. And then it could say, okay, the ones in red are enemies, and the ones in green are, good guys, supposedly. And it could even be set so that your weapon would not fire unless there's a red enemy target to shoot at. It's just like, it's creepy. There is, I mean, and the video that you did share is a very, that did bring up a very good point, about giving autonomous lethal weapons, which means letting computers decide in a military situation, is it okay to kill this person? That technology already exists, and there was a very good book, a fictional book, written some years ago by Daniel Suarez, called Kill Decision, and that book was about autonomous weapons, drones, and whatever that could be used by private. It wouldn't have to be necessarily a nation or an army. It can be a private individual could buy and deploy these things, and no one would know, who is responsible, because once it's actually set off in motion, it doesn't need to phone back to home base to say, oh, is it okay if I kill this person or not? That stuff that's creepy stuff. But we need to regain our humanity, The convenience these technologies are supposedly offering us, we cannot let ourselves become dependent. We need to be able to, you know, communicate, speak, walk, cook, heat ourselves, all of these things without having to go through a gatekeeper technology. Because even if all the technology companies are awesome, wonderful people with the best intentions, you don't know that's always going to be the case. So retain your humanity, your connection to spirit. Um, and yeah, actually, and also going back to the spiritual thing, the the I talked about, like, they have the spectrum from love to not love. Love is beautiful and warm, and a baby, a newborn baby suckling on his mother's breast. Those, like, beautiful, warm, soft, organic things is the good stuff. And on the other side, it's all very mechanical and harsh and cold. And technology itself has, to me. I'm not saying, oh, my iPhone is of the devil or anything, but when there's the book, the H.G. Wells wrote this book, The Time Machine. And in The Time Machine, it goes back or actually forward in time, and humanity had split into two races. There were the Eloi, who were these simple, happy people who were like on the surface of the planet, just smelling flowers and just having a wonderful, happy time. And underground were the Morlocks, and they worked with the machines, and they were ugly, and they were actually cannibalistic. They actually fed on the Eloi. The more mechanical stuff, it's you can use machines for good. Absolutely. You can, if a building collapses, you'll get a crane and mechanical stuff to haul the stuff off things. It doesn't. The devices themselves aren't inherently bad. It's the intent with which they are used, and I do not want to have some embedded technology inside of me controlled by somebody else. I mean, why would you do that? It's, and then of course at first it will be sold as something, oh, it's so convenient. You can Google things. I mean, in fact, Facebook is working on mind reading technology. Sounds absolutely insane. But there was I saw, I forget the name of the Facebook executive, and she was talking about how they either have or are working on accessing the speech center of the brain and reading that. And she was saying how, oh yes, so whatever words are approved, that you approve to be read, you can use those as instructions to, look up whatever,
Yeah.
but
I know what you mean. Yes.
but within that statement, she says, oh, only the words that you approve ahead of time. So they're reading all the words and looking for the ones that are approved and only acting on them, allegedly. And we're supposed to trust these people. I don't think so.
No. You just mentioned about Facebook.
Yes.
And being what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Mind control. And this is how the depth of it is going. Because I can remember actually, typing in some things, and the computer is telling you word for word, the exact word that you should say is not actually the word that you want to say.
Right.
But it's actually giving you the words that you should say. So I find that technology itself now is a little bit disturbing, because that is not what I am thinking.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Now, in the Caribbean now, we use words that are not coded inside of Google, no Wikipedia, none of them.
Right.
That's a word that they really and truly, it is asking you, what kind of word is that? Or they are asking you if to ignore, but you actually know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
And whosoever actually knows the language would actually know what it means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the point that I'm getting at here now is mind control. How much of mind control do we see technology today is actually um, have a certain great part to play on the people on the planet?
Well, when you say mind control, people think, "Oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist." Um,
You just mentioned something about Facebook, so
I know, but the
share with
thing
us.
is,
Go ahead.
again, here I have I'm right in front of me is my cat. She's sleeping, well, she's listening to me. But if I stroke her, she
Yeah,
purrs and she's happy. Is
yeah,
that mind control? That's influence, and you can there are ways of influencing. I mean, social conditioning is influence. I mean, making getting everyone that they bring their telephones with them to the toilet. That's conditioning. Direct mind control, however, is a thing. There's a long, just like the weather control stuff. They've been studying this stuff for a very long time. I mean, there were some very disturbing experiments done in Russia, and yeah, it's dark, and generally they don't study things unless they intend to use them. There's not a whole lot of stuff that'll spend billions of dollars on just because they feel like spending $1 billion or a
uh,
trillion. And but the thing with Facebook beforehand, I was mentioning this Facebook executive who actually worked for DARPA before, which is the Defense Research Arm, talking about being able to read things from the speech center. If you can read something, you can write something. And that really is mind control, inserting thoughts into or words into people's mind. If they know the process in this on the area of the brain that can be where the speech thing works, you can insert stuff there as well. And there's also a very very large project called the Human Brain Project. When I think when Obama announced it, he said it was going to be this about this size of the Apollo program. They want to know exactly how the brain works. And of course, they'll always say, "Oh, it'll help, so people who have, mental problems. It'll help for medicine or whatever." But it's not. It really is. We will soon get to the point with being able to read what's activity in your speech center and be able to translate that to what people are actually thinking. Right now, you can think what you like, and you're careful with what you say. Down the road, if they can say, "Oh, we don't like what you think," that's a little much. That's more control than I'm comfortable with. So we should say no to that. No matter how, it's they can sell it to you. It's like, "Oh yeah, you thought about, oh, I'm a bit low on milk, so it'll automatically order it for you." No, if we have to remember our own power to do things ourselves and not be completely dependent on these things. Because if we get dependent on something for our basic existence and we don't have control over it, that is a very, very sketchy place to be.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. Let me ask some questions.
Sure.
Why is it that the phones them have these names? Galaxy,
Yeah.
Android.
Android. Yeah.
Now, just slow down a bit now. Slow down a bit here with us now. Why do they have these names? Galaxy, Galaxy 5, but Galaxy 6. What other name them had them Hassan? Any other galaxies and Android? Where
Well,
these names actually derive from?
Android itself.
Nanos?
That one,
Yeah.
Android is a a mechanical. It's a merging between human and machine, robot. Really, android is more like mechanical. A cyborg is in between, and in fact, the Motorola had one of the, I forget the brand of this phone, but they had as their, how they advertised it, they used the HAL 9000 red light, from the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. That sociopathic computer that killed off a bunch of people on the spaceship because he thought it was getting in his way of the mission. And the famous quote is, when Dave Bowman's trying to get back in the back into the spaceship, Hal says, "Sorry, Dave, I can't do that." We are getting, they're celebrating the fact that this was a machine that had power of life and death over humans and decided to kill them. And you want to embrace that as, the thing that you become dependent on as a selling point? No thanks. Yeah, Galaxy, I think, that to me is just, they want it to be universal. But yeah, the Android thing is creepy. So is Apple. Apple's super creepy as well. I mean, if you look at the logo of the apple, it's basically from the Garden of Eden. The bite taken out of the apple is from Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. When man took of the tree of life, he knew both good and evil. That sort of thing. Their first computer they sold for $666, and now you have the iPhone X, which has thousands of points of light to biometrically study you, and it doesn't even benefit the end consumer in any way, because if the point of it is so no one can get into your phone. If you have one of those things and you get arrested and you're handcuffed, the police can just hold the phone up in front of you and it unlocks it. That's no use. It doesn't help you in any way. But they've spent a lot of money getting that to be a thing. And then I think it's going to go onto the... it'll go onto the watch, and they're just conditioning us that we have to do this really invasive biometrical stuff to do anything to buy and sell. If you want to buy something, that you're a little, you don't want to broadcast to the world. Even if you're embarrassed going to the store getting tampons for your girlfriend, that's all that privacy's taken away. And the argument people say about privacy is like, well, if you're doing nothing wrong, you've got nothing to hide. I disagree. We do have walls and curtains and windows and things for a reason. We need privacy. And we have this new generation coming up who are sharing everything about themselves. It'll start with like taking pictures of, I got some, oh, look at this, this meal that I just had or whatever. And just
that is what I'm talking about.
Conditioning people to be part of this hive mind. Yeah, that's conditioning. That's conditioning. I mean, it's on the border of mind control, but there's an agenda that they want us to go towards, and they're getting us there very effectively. So we need to dial back on it and take little breaks once in a while. Turn your Wi-Fi off at night at least.
Check ourselves with these things. Roddy, Patrick, we're going to take a little break. So
okay.
Don't go nowhere. You just stay right there on the line.
All right.
We are here with Patrick Roddy, and we are actually reasoning on technology. How effective? How great is technology in our day-to-day operation? Is it actually worth our technological awareness is working for us? Is it working for us? Or is it doing something else that we don't know pertaining to our technologies and our technological know-hows? These are the things now that we are looking at pertaining to technology. Your little cellular phone, what does that mean? So, yeah, we're here with Patrick Roddy. We're just going to take just a few minutes of commercials so that we can actually get our people in so that we can let you know what's happening in town. 1348 People Station. We are here. People Station. Come on, we are here. Patrick, you there?
I am here. I'm here. Yes, indeed.
Is your area I hear in the roosters them crowing?
Oh yeah, we got roosters across the street. Yeah, I'm in Oregon right now. I'm visiting a friend. Yeah, it's
Okay, you're in Oregon.
yeah.
I wondering what's happening because I can remember when I was in New York.
Uh-huh.
I was longing to hear cock crow.
Well, depends. In parts of New York, you will hear them.
When I went to Spanish Town now, then is when I was able to hear cock
Oh, there you
crow.
go. Exactly.
Yeah, Spanish Harlem, actually.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Get a
Yeah.
chance to hear cock. Come on.
Yeah, gotta love chickens. Yeah, it's
Yes, sir.
the I was thinking during the break, this is all about independence.
Uh-huh.
We are created by God and we are independent. We can do things ourselves. We do things with the people we love and trust, and we help each other, but we're able to do things ourselves. And it's a good idea to think of all of the things you now rely on your phone for. Things like maps, being able to add, reading books from paper, talking to people, all of these things. Just learn the old skills. Do not lose them. I mean, we have the generation that's coming up. They're communicating through text messages from Facebook messages, and they're becoming
Android like?
well, Android like, yeah. But it's taking the humanity out of
Patrick, serious thing is happening on the planet, you know. It is
yeah.
a serious thing that is happening on the planet because the way how I see that, I am looking at the next 75 years.
Yeah.
What would the planet be in the next 75 years?
Well, I hate to bring it back to the Matrix again,
Uh,
but when Neo is, when he takes the red pill and then he sees himself in this pod, he's directly connected in. His
yeah.
visual, his mind is connected in with a computer program directly. That
Ah,
is not what I want at all. I'm against that. I mean, if I would like to use a computer to help me with directions, I can go and ask it for directions. Or I
ah.
can, if I don't have a computer, I'll figure it out. I'll ask someone, oh, by the way, do you know where the store is? But in the future, if people become so
You,
deep, they might even lose the ability to, oh, where is the local store, because they don't remember, they forget the muscle memory, the visual cues, all that sort of stuff. That's getting
ah,
taken away from us. We need to restore that. And the best thing for people to do is just take, like, if you have a couple of days off, go somewhere without technology. Just go
ah,
there, bring some food, make a fire, cook some stuff, and sleep under the stars, hug a tree, be
yeah.
at one with nature, breathe, listen, look at the stars. And you don't have to do it all through an intermediary. You don't immediately, that's the other thing. We're conditioned, when something happens, we have to share it on social media. Like, ugh, lose that.
Yeah.
Rediscover books, rediscover conversation. It's so much more fulfilling. And when people, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be more difficult for the people who are conditioned. That's all they've grown up with this technology. But with them, you'll start slowly, and we need to regain our humanity. I feel it's taken away from us. It's not. Augmented reality means less humanity. So I'm against
No,
that.
no, we look at that. We are looking at, we mentioned the next 75 years.
Yeah.
We see how young people today, how they communicate. We are seeing wherein as now within the next 75 years, we are looking at the planet, you and I, plus others who are able to be conscious
Yeah.
and able to actually know how to differentiate between what is real and what is unreal,
Mm-hmm.
the majority of us now, who are actually subjected to these kinds of things that is happening, they go along with the programs.
Mm-hmm.
They are subjecting themselves to these programs, but yet not knowing the severeness that they're actually going by. So it is like a hypnotic kind of operation that is happening with the majority of our people that is on the planet today, because I just can't just single out just St. Thomas alone. I just can't single out the Caribbean.
No.
I have seen where throughout the whole entire planet, you have technology today that is really controlling the motion,
Yes.
controlling our awareness, controlling who we are and who we are not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is the seriousness about technology today. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's very serious. And what I think what's going to happen with this technology, I think we mentioned in the last time we spoke how
Yes.
When before everyone had them and before everyone was dependent on them, they suppressed any reports that it would be bad to actually hold the phone against your head.
Yes.
But then once everyone was dependent on them, then they quietly said, "Yeah, actually, it is bad. You shouldn't have it against your head." And what I see, this might be projection. I don't know, but it's been my experience in the last couple of months, really, that I
Mhm.
have found that technology is actively working against me. It
Mhm.
was taking away things that I needed to do and just saying, tough luck.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's actually becoming, first it becomes, it's sort of within your life and you're dependent on it. Then it starts messing with you. And I think I don't want this to be the case, but I can foresee in the years to come, it will be more actively shown to be, yes, this is a threat to you, but you can't do anything about it. Ha ha.
Uh,
So if we need to remember our skills, because humanity, I mean, really, I mean, if you think how long life has been on this earth,
yeah.
we are descended from single-celled organisms. If you go by Darwin's theories, um, all of
Which,
the all
which
of
go ahead. Go ahead.
all
Go ahead. Go ahead.
every single one of those, our ancestors,
Uh,
managed to be born, managed to live long enough to reproduce and protect their children, who then did the same thing for millions of years.
mm,
You didn't need Facebook then, so you don't need it now. All of these things that you think, you're conditioned to think this is essential, you must have it, none of it is essential. We can
mm.
do things ourselves, and it's very rewarding doing it.
I've
And
been
also,
doing things of myself. Go ahead.
and also, I mean, this has been happening culturally anyway. Your day is designed to be filled with things that you have to get done. Oh, you have to watch a clock, or the phone could ring, or there's but it completely drowns out your ability to stop and get to stillness, because stillness is where our strength is. That's our connection to God. God is stillness and beauty and calm. And
Mm,
by constantly interrupting us, it
mm,
keeps us away from that. And again, I always go back to the spirit thing, but our true strength is
mm,
from our connection to spirit or God. And
mm.
things that pull us away from that, you need to be suspicious of them. So, I mean, perhaps all of this stuff is meant for our benefit, that it is going to be a better world. But the people it's coming from, and you look at their track record of what they thought was a good idea, it generally turned out to be a bad idea. And here's the other thing, I'm starting to
Yeah.
cook. I'm starting to cook again because I found how easy it is to make chicken soup. I never knew it was because chicken soup, when it's done right, is so good. I assumed if something was so good, it would be really hard to do. But
Yeah.
it's not. You just put chicken in a pot with, carrots and onions and and celery,
Yeah.
and turn the heat
Yeah.
on. That, and maybe put some thyme in as well. It's awesome. And it
Yeah.
doesn't take any longer than to go buy something that has, when you look at the ingredients list, it looks like a phone book.
Mhm.
We need to regain our autonomy, our
Yeah.
independence, our free will, and exercise it, and then by example show others that there is a better way. You'll have a more fulfilling life,
Right.
and you'll be better off if you're not. Use that stuff if it's there, if you want to, but know yourself that you are capable of being without it. Because
Okay.
otherwise, you're under the dominion of whoever's behind that stuff, and they may not be good people.
Right.
So,
Okay. I am just allowing the general public, everyone who is actually listening. You can actually call here at the station, where you can actually chime in on this reasoning. Even if it pertains to what the reasoning or the discussion was the first time that Patrick came through, and we actually mentioned some things on weather modification. So we having that opportunity now, wherein as the lines will be open from now, and from the lines are open, you can actually ask Roddy himself some questions, because he's on the line here with us. And it seems I just turned my head a while ago, and it seems now that I have a phone call here
all
to
right.
deal with. So let me get someone else in, and we got two callers. So let me go phone line, see who is there, and say greetings in the night time.
Yes, we can have.
Yes, sir. How you do?
Yes, man.
Shanti?
Yeah, just that, man. I didn't hear from you
In a,
in a while now.
in a while, man. How you do?
Yeah, man. I there.
Okay then. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
man. I love the program, man. I love the brother. I love you, man. You say the scientist?
Yes, scientist. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to hear him, I appreciate him, what he's doing, and
Yeah.
the information he's revealing.
Okay.
And I'm glad to know that he's not, it is that he have a belief in Most.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to know, I have like two-part question, like if you have any history, if you know any history with they're using any in the war, before I mentioned about they're using instrument in war, the time I'm thinking World War II, something with Hitler when he was going towards Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I know they had some tanks, they had rain a lot, and the tanks them couldn't make it.
Okay.
Big Russia, and I had another time with, I think in the Vietnam War,
Uh-huh.
the Ho Chi Minh Trail, flooding the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Okay.
Yeah, you could just, and one more thing about that, related to how our youth are acting up now.
If,
You think with
if
our,
the technology is a part of the acting up.
with our, messing with our cell, our brain cells.
Yeah. Two-part question. Did you hear the question that he was posing?
It was a little unclear. I think it was about using this military technology.
Yes.
And
Yes, that's one.
And I heard Ho Chi Minh Trail, and that I think refers to Operation Popeye, which was
Yes.
that's declassified now. Yeah, that's when they sprayed silver iodide to flood out the Ho Chi Minh Trail during the Vietnam War. And
Yes.
it was only like 3 planes, and it was only a few kilograms that they used. A very small amount made massive floods. Yeah, that's established. I mean, but
Okay.
the weather modification stuff. I recommend people listen to the last thing, or follow me on stopsprayinghouse.com. That's huge. But that's just one small part of the technology that is deployed against us, and there's the things that I'm leery about using the word mind control because it triggers people. Oh, yeah, that's science fiction. Because just being nice, but being nice to someone, is that mind control? But there is actually
Okay. Yeah.
mind. There is
Oh, you
you can use radio waves, and it's called
Uh-huh.
voice to skull. You can actually they can transmit a radio beam at you, and you can hear it.
Yeah.
No one it gets beamed into your skull. So that stuff's around.
Okay.
So how much it's
Okay.
used is another question. But yeah, so what was the rest of the question?
And the other one now has to do with our young people.
Yeah.
How does our young people has been affected with these technologies today? You know, the mood swings and the attitudes and
Oh,
what is happening with them,
well,
going out of bounds, you know?
Well, we are all being affected by this because the radio frequencies do affect our moods. That is very if you point a electromagnetic beam at someone with the frequency of anger or sadness or whatever, you can generate feelings on a huge area. And back in the 70s, there was this, the Russians were using, it was called the woodpecker program, and it was very low frequency radio waves that they were directing towards Europe, and they could affect the mood of millions of people. And that technology is old, and I feel it. Suddenly, I mean, the example I'll use the most often is like you'll suddenly become really tired, decide you have to go to sleep, and then you can't sleep. We are getting messed with electromagnetic stuff, and some of it is inadvertent, but we are in this electromagnetic soup, and it's not good for us. This is a new thing. I mean, radio waves have only been created by mankind for about not much more than 100 years. But now, we're surrounded by Wi-Fi and phones and all like smart meters, and it's considered, and in the United States, the FCC regulates this stuff, and they say, well, if it's non-ionizing, it's safe. And that's not the case, I mean, a microwave, if you were in a microwave, that's non-ionizing, but, you can get a burrito like melting hot over that, but that's okay. So, they are conditioning us through all measure of things, with food additives, with vaccines, with electromagnetic, with whatever they're spraying in the sky, whatever they may decide to introduce into the water, all this sort of stuff. They're coming at us from all angles. But the thing that confirms my hope, it's not even a hope, it's a knowledge that we're going to be okay, is that they wouldn't be doing this if they were not afraid. Like, oh, hang on, the humanity's getting away from us. They're starting to say, no thanks. And it doesn't take, you don't need the majority. You just need a few, a dedicated minority, because that's what they are. They're a determined minority. And if we speak our truth and lead by example, that you don't need all this stuff that they're trying to make us believe we must have to exist, they lose power. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Master, we had a call, eh? You lost the call? No, that's okay. That's okay. You're going to answer for me when some of the callers them call.
Okay.
And when they do call, all you have to do is just press hold. Just let them know, just hold on 1 minute and just press hold. And then, we flow that with it. Mahassan is in the studio with me here, Patrick.
All right. Hello.
Good sister who is actually visiting. She actually lives here, visiting and leaving again.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just lost a caller, hoping that caller can actually call back. And you can actually question Mr. Patrick Ruddy here on the studio, in the studio here with us, the scientist. And we are actually looking at technology, the effectiveness of technology. It is good for us or is it bad for us? Is it something that we are able to understand? Because on social media, we do things really and truly that is not conducive to information. But we actually get very social on social media. So, is it wearing us technology today? Is it effective in our world? Is it has its goods and has its bad? But yet, how can we actually allow ourselves to be humans and not humanoids or androids? You put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Serious thing for the planet, man. It's a serious thing that's happening on the planet. Let me go phone line and see who is there, and let me say greetings in the nighttime.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, sure.
My question is, why do some people can't seem to function properly without their phones in their hands or on their body or near to them?
Uh-huh.
What do we call these kind of people? Is it safe to say that they are so conditioned that they cannot do without their phones? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Or is it safe to say that technology is controlling our people today or will be controlling our people in the long run?
Uh-huh. Patrick, you hear that?
Yeah, I believe. Oh, actually, I'm
Okay,
gonna move
Mom,
inside.
thank
There's a
you.
train coming. Hang on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's a train coming your
Oh yeah.
side.
So I'm just coming inside. It's pretty
Yes.
loud.
Okay, yeah.
I
Hear it
think
in the back. Yes, go ahead.
I believe these technologies were introduced with the end goal of controlling us. I mean, multiple reasons. First, they need to know. They wanted to get. They want to know what everyone is thinking first, and you know, if you can read, you can write. I think they also need to impose the correct, in their view, thoughts to people. And I mean, we are basically, I mean, we are followers mostly as a species. We're a herd species. We're not like cats. We're more like dogs. Ready? We have the social structure. We like to fit within that, and it is hard for most people to step outside social norms. So it is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but yeah, it's these things were introduced as oh yes, there's something here which is really good, you must have, or you know, when cell phones first came out, it's a social status thing. You know, if you have a cell phone, you're a successful businessman. When the internet first came about, there was pornography all over it, and still is, and that was a way. That they were trying to try the carrot and the stick, getting people in for whatever reason, and have it. And with phones, we have this with us at all times. So, and it's going to, I think what they would like to do is move from an external device that's something that is maybe embedded and maybe writes to our visual cortex or speech center or whatever, and it's really not good. I mean, it's over time and time again, and I'm guilty. I mean, I keep my phone with me, but I think I'm going to learn more to use less of it. But yeah,
We just got to know how to balance, in the equation, you see?
Yeah.
It's all about the balance. How we can balance ourselves in this whole entire quagmire that we are in. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, actually, another point out that I actually like to bring up or reiterate was the intent is, meaning, well, listen to your gut, do the right thing. These tools that we have can be used. They are used against us, but that doesn't maybe for bad reason. But that doesn't stop us from using the same things for good reasons. So it's not,
Yeah.
we find ourselves in November 2017, and this is what's around. So you make the best with what you have, but always try to do the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Phone line. Let me go phone line and see who is there, and let me say greetings in the nighttime. In the nighttime. WSTA. Go ahead.
Yes, good night, my brother.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir.
One concern I have about technology is though that it might be making things very much easier for us. But I'm looking at the younger generation today and the younger generation in the future.
Yes.
That I'm very much concerned about the financial stability of these young people in the future, because I feel that poverty is really going to take hold of them very deeply, because it seems that this technology, they have to spend so much money into it that they give absolutely no consideration to put a dollar aside tomorrow, or even might be able to put a dollar aside for the future to help them out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Patrick, did you get that?
I didn't quite. Could you repeat it, or sum it up?
This is what the gentleman was saying now. Is that young people? He's concerned about the young people.
Oh yeah.
Because the young people actually are spending lots of money for keeping up with their technologies. So he's afraid of the kind of poverty that would actually creeps in on them. Are they able to actually maintain that kind of lifestyle?
Well, it is priced in as it's priced so that they are able to just about keep up, but impoverish them in other ways. It's very similar to when I was last time when I was talking about technocracy, how they're going to be moving us over to an energy economy.
Yes.
So instead of having money, you'll have an energy certificate or a carbon credit allowance that you'll get replaced each month. But then you're handing over control of the price setting to these people who want to screw with you. So I see the same thing, with the amount people are spending on virtual things, and these are just like numbers going back and forth between mainframe computers on a network, and you're paying money for them. And what gets presented to you is this, a web page for whatever, or an app, or it's another drain on our resources by people who don't have our best interests at heart. So, I think I'll reiterate, if we do need to deprogram. First of all, ourselves. We have to be able to find our ways of being without the latest update or the newest iDevice or whatever, and then show by example. And if you have children, be like Bill Gates, be like Steve Jobs. They would not let their children be immersed in technology. They had books. They like pens and paper. They limited, how much television they can watch, because they know how bad it is. There's some major corporations where they just don't let you have cell phones, because they're just like, why would you have this wireless transmitter here? No, you can't. So the people who are giving us this stuff, they know how bad it is. So we should lead by their example and not do it as much as we can. Because being able to actually make your own food and find your own way around is very satisfying. And children are naturally curious. And if we can reignite that spark, we should hopefully be able to get past this massive conditioning. One person at a time, I think. Yeah.
Okay, let me go next person on the phone line there. And let me say greetings in the nighttime.
Yeah, good evening. Hey, Patrick. Do you think having a cell phone is just an easy way to know where you are? Instead of putting a chip into you?
Did you get a one, Patrick?
Something about a chip. Was that?
Yes, brother. Just listen to him. Listen to him. Okay. Having a cell phone,
Right.
and they are actually putting chips in people.
Absolutely.
That
They've been
has to do with location. Where they can identify where you're at.
they've
And all
been
these things.
they've been trying to sell this idea for years, and people are not ready for it. They'll say, "Oh, it's so convenient. You can have this chip, and it can open doors, and you can log into websites." Not good, because people are resistant to doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to track people, just follow where their cell phone is, and especially now when people are using biometrics to unlock phones. I mean, with a facial recognition, like my phone has a fingerprint scanner on it, so they know, yeah, that's Patrick, and he's right there. But as a backup, what they do have is it's not just facial recognition. Everybody walks a certain way. So if you look at someone from above, the way that you can identify people from lots of ways, and they have all this technology, and they're using it. And don't get a chip. It's the answer really to the thing. Do not do it. Because first yes, there is a chip that will just be like a receiver transmitter to identify, yes, I'm this individual chip, this is Patrick. But there are other ones that they are working on chips that interface with the brain. You have hearing aids, which they'll do cochlear implants. This is there's electrical signals that go into the part of your brain that hears, and it's great for people who are deaf and they can hear. But hacking into their brain is not a good thing. We need to have some sort of a firewall between the technology and us. Because if you're dependent on it, that's not good. Because because at some point down the road, even if the people who are running it aren't evil now, they might be evil later. You do not hand over control of your life to someone else.
But the extent that this can go also, Patrick, is that young babies that are born, can the chips now be placed inside of them, implant inside of them?
Well,
from a young age?
Unfortunately, there is. I think we mentioned this one last time around. The nanotechnology has come a long way. And there's this thing called IPv6, because regular web addresses, it's like 16 characters or so for the it's like 04 blah 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 all the way for the address, which will represent google.com or something. But the new naming technique is much longer, and there's quadrillions of numbers, so they're introducing this thing called the Internet of Things. So everything will have an address. You're not just phones. It'll be, every product will have one in, and there was this product they called Smart Water. And it's used. They use it as a selling point for cash machines. Though, if someone's trying to break into a cash machine, it'll spray this smart water on it, and the water itself can be individually identified from the tags in it. All you have to do is tag a person, and then they'll be able to sort of follow them around. And they're already. We're sort of halfway there now with the phones, but the technology for embedding, there's they embed smart chips in drugs now, so that will tell you, has the patient taken the drug, or does he need another one? Because this nanotechnology is, it can be used for great good, but I just don't trust the people who have the money to do this stuff, because behind every great fortune is a great crime. It's I'm a bit suspicious.
Okay, let me get another phone call in, and let me go here and say greetings in the nighttime.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Come in.
Yeah, I know it seems to be the man at the program. I want to ask him, he seems to be biblically inclined. I want to ask him concerning the Bible talks about the image of the beast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and another thing with is there a computer dealing that have that the program itself will think for itself, artificial intelligence.
Okay. All right. Patrick, you hear that?
Yeah, the number of the beast, absolutely. You know, it seems like we're living through Revelations, because even if all of it is just some story somebody wrote thousands of years ago, which is based on no fact and a bunch of people happen to believe, our enemies, the people who are trying to control us, they are following that script very closely. That's why they put 666 and everything, and the number of the beast, being tracked. And it says there, you know, you won't be able to buy and sell unless you take the mark of the beast. Like, whoa, that's getting... it's like they're reading directly from Revelations and introducing this stuff. So that's another reason to be cautious. And what was the second part? About artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence. This big computer there will say now that actually, you know, has countless amount of information inside of it. You know, it goes on and on to that measure.
Well, the thing about artificial intelligence, it's artificial. Yes, it can do things more quickly, but I know that in you know, as I was saying before, we are more natural and the other side's more mechanical. You know, we heal, they harm, we create, they destroy. We have creativity and inspiration, they don't. There's nothing from the other side that is inspired. I mean, they'll try and copy things that have been inspired, but it's the artificial intelligence will get faster at doing things that is almost as good as us, but we will always be able to outsmart them. I believe. I mean, it's you know, if you think it'll ever have, I'm not too concerned. I mean, it's certainly something we have to bear in mind. You know, there are things that you know, especially when they're using, you know, integrating all of these things for military means, you know, that's bad. But it's if we have good intent, we can use the same tools that they build for good. And so I don't think it's the end of the world with the AI thing. I mean, it's certainly it's worth considering. You know, it's like it's like being around when the wheel was invented. You know, that did change things. You know, and wheels might have been used to, you know, for military stuff, but then, you know, farmers started to use them, and you know, it's not, the thing itself isn't bad. It's the intent, because this is purely a spiritual thing. We were in a spiritual world. We're experiencing it through this three-dimensional life thing. But it's all about good. It's about intention, good or bad. Pick one.
Yes.
And yeah. But AI, I wouldn't be too concerned.
Yeah. Okay, let me take another caller in and let me go here and say greetings in the night time. Are you still there? Hello. All right. Seems like person gone left with. All right, let me go here and say greetings in the night time.
Yeah, Africa.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what you meant to ask your guest is the image. Revelation talk about the image and the mark of the beast, but this one is the image of the beast. I think it's more pertaining to the computer.
Possibly.
Okay, Patrick, you hear that?
It was the image and the mark of the beast.
Yes. Okay, Shanti. Yeah. Go ahead, Patrick.
I'm not familiar. I need to reread Revelations, but I'm familiar with the number of the beast. I'm not quite sure what the image would represent. But I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like, and I keep away from it. It's like if that becoming like horns and a forked tongue and like pointy stuff. It smells of sulfur. Keep away. Yeah, that's the thing. You'll
But
like with the.
from that, drawing from what is considered as the image, you actually got to look at the many different nations now that are actually, trying to be the forerunners of technology. And how much of the technology now that they are used on the greater populace of their population. For instance, now China. China has a leading role right now when it comes to technology. As a matter of fact, they just established one of the biggest satellite radio dishes, something to that avail. They just established something like that. So the whole entire thing now, and looking at the clips from Revelation, you actually see the many different nations that are actually fighting over the advances of technology and how the advances of technology now can actually spread itself on a global scale. That is why now I can actually say in the Caribbean, they have such a thing as known as top up. When every time your phone run out of time, you have to top it up in order to get. So within the time frame of a week, you already spend something like $500 topping up.
Yeah.
You know the amount of money them actually gaining out of that. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the Caribbean. And we have about 400 and something islands in the Caribbean itself, as small as it may look. So you can imagine somebody's actually heaping havoc when it comes to the finances.
Absolutely. And the thing is, when you talk about different countries, the opposite side, they are talking about this global government, because that's eventually where they want to go to.
Yeah.
But frankly, it's been in operation for a long time already. That's why things happen in concert around the world at the same time. We are given this idea that there's competition. In America you'll have it'll be the one party or the other, or but as they are advancing the agenda, you'll see different countries, they'll try different things. For example, China, they were able to get away with the one-child policy. In England, that was the first place it got completely covered by surveillance cameras. And they'll try different things in different places, but it's for that one goal. And it's it's not a good goal. It really isn't. Having centralizing control in a small group of unelected hands is not a good thing. We have the ability to do everything that we need to do to survive ourselves. We are not dependent on anyone else. We are all independent. And it's really refreshing to remind yourself of that by, leaving your phone at home once in a while. But yeah, it's all that is the definition of a conspiracy. That's like people who are working together to advance an agenda. And you see the agenda advancing all over the world. That is the definition of a conspiracy, and it's right there. So yeah.
Okay. Let me go 4-9. See who let me say greetings in the nighttime.
Greetings in the nighttime.
Oh, you do?
My question is.
Yes.
Good. The question is to Mr. Roddy. Do you think that is technology causing many relationships to suffer, as in reference to building on a relationship, by way of using technology, or not having so much technology, whereas we spend a lot of time on the phone texting instead of really talking to someone face to face, or whatever the case may be, to that effect? So if you use so much technology and you don't physically see somebody, is it killing the relationship, or is it kind of build a relationship?
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Let Patrick answer you.
I got that.
Make it answer you. Okay.
Well,
All right. Patrick, you hear that?
I'm here. Absolutely.
Relationship and technology.
Yeah, it absolutely damages relationships completely. We don't interact as humans. We're not using visual cues. We don't feel subtlety in voice, and the powers that be, as I call them, the scumbags, have been wanting to divide us. Divide us from groups, from tribes, from family, from close friendships, down to relationships between children and their parents. They're trying to separate us all into individuals. And through through social media, they give us this ersatz fake community of people who all like fly fishing, and that's not a community. I mean, you are still sort of there are some people you are sort of communicating with them, but it's a very, very shallow. It strips away so much. You're just brought down to the text words. You can't sense people. We're losing that ability. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you can lose it. We have to become human again. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think this is part of the agenda. Make us atomize us, bring us, because if we're all just individuals, we're much easier to control because we don't have a group backing us up, someone who will just stand there, protect us to whatever. We need to really, and actually the porn thing, the fact that porn was introduced to also cause problems in relationships, because you go home to your wife and she's not an airbrushed, vision that you saw, who's all, that kind of stuff. We're human. We have ups and downs. No matter how awesome you are, you go through, fluctuations and things, and there's that, none of that is allowed. And people are using, dating websites. They swipe left, swipe right, and so on. That's so dehumanizing. Would you just completely dismiss someone, just on a little glimpse? I mean, yes, the more you become aware, you're better at feeling out somebody, and you get relatively quick at it. But through this technology, it's not good. It's dehumanizing, and we need to rediscover our humanity, flaws and all. We're not perfect, you wouldn't want perfection, but we have the choice. We have the choice. Do you want to be dependent on this stuff, or do you want to use it for good? Because I'm using an iPhone and technology and the internet to share a good message with people. It's not, it by itself can be used for good, but we need to nurture our own personal relationships before that becomes a lost art.
Okay. Let me take one more caller in, because it is 10:33. So let me take one more caller in, and then we go here, and then we say greetings in the nighttime.
Yes, we did Africa.
Yes, King.
I want to ask you if you ever see there a movie that made that there was a man that was he had a computer that was actually making love with this computer image. And the image you leave with your friend or somebody have a relationship with physical. But he actually got caught up in this computer image that really realized he had to shut it out because he was really controlling him. Maybe you ever saw that, anybody ever saw it. I saw this movie.
You ever saw that movie, Patrick?
So what? Sorry, I didn't catch that. What movie was it? The one.
A guy actually fell in love with a computer.
Yes, exactly. It was called.
Movie.
I remember it was a woman's name, Lucy or something like that, and it was his personal digital assistant, and it was that's social conditioning, and it's that's the logical extension of what they're going with. trying to get people to dehumanize us further, and I saw that. It was a depressing movie. Not good. They'd like us to be that way.
All right, Patrick, it has been a great honor again, bringing you in so that we can look at everybody have it, from the youngest in the family to the oldest in the family. A cellular phone. And a cellular phone has to do with today's technology. Is technology actually taking us away from our day-to-day operation of life and living? Or is it, whereas technology today is actually in control of our day-to-day operation instead of ourselves? And you have actually clarified some things here tonight, Patrick.
Well,
I'm sure. Go ahead.
It's our choice whether we let it control us. We still have the ability to be self-sufficient. And I'm not saying get rid of all of your things, but bear in mind what it is capable of doing. Look at your ability to find your way around since maps became a thing on phones, calculators. Do you want to get to the point where you're unable to feed yourself unless there's a piece of technology? That's a little too scary. Don't give them too much power, and listen to spirit. Be guided by goodness, and be well.
Patrick, it is a great honor again, so that you could have come through and share the night with us with information, and as much information as you can, so that our enlightenment in this world can actually be wherein as we can look through the many windows so that we can safeguard ourselves. This is the purpose of information.
It is.
So we give thanks that you were able to come through and share with us.
And thank you too. We're both blessed.
Yes. We will definitely call on you again, so you don't even close the gate.
Oh,
we will call on you again for certain things again, definitely for sure. We'll bring you in again. But it seems like the people, them really like you, man.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, them love your information, man. It seems like they're really, really comfortable with you. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
We have been speaking with Patrick Ruddy, who we consider as a scientist, and he has been sharing with us. The topic was actually based on technology and how technology today is actually running the operations of our world, and how is it that we are able to at least make good use of technology. Are there technologies that are being used for the purpose that they're supposed to be used for? Or are we allowing technology to be whereas it's already dominate our whole entire existence on the planet? This is the big question, people. Seriously. Because everywhere we go, we walk with the cell phone.